Imagine sitting in your own cabin, sipping coffee with a powerful guest, when suddenly the HOA president, our very own neighborhood Karen, kicks the door open and starts screaming about rules. What she didn't know was that the man sitting across from me wasn't just any guest. He was the state attorney general. And what happened next? Well, let's just say it's the day Karen finally got put in her place. The door slammed open so hard it shook the cabin walls. My friends and I nearly jumped out of our seats. Standing in the doorway, red-faced, hands on her hips, was none other than Karen, the president of our homeowners association. I couldn't believe my eyes. She had literally barged into my private lake cabin without knocking, without permission, acting like she owned the place. Now, let me set the scene for you. This wasn't just a small get-together. We were sitting inside my family's cabin on the lake, a quiet retreat I had inherited from my grandfather. It was my safe place, away from the endless rules and demands of the HOA that Karen seemed to enforce like a self-appointed sheriff. But this time, she picked the wrong moment, because sitting just across from me at the cabin table, sipping coffee, was the state attorney general. Yes, the highest legal authority in the state. And Karen had no clue. Karen stormed in, her shrill voice echoing off the wood panel walls. You can't just have people over like this. The HOA requires approval for gatherings larger than 6 people. She barked, waving a clipboard like it was a weapon. Now, here's the thing. The HOA had rules, yes, but they applied to community facilities like the shared clubhouse or pool, not private property. And definitely not my grandfather's old cabin, which was registered in my name and outside HOA jurisdiction. But Karen, as always, acted like she was queen of the world. She pointed at my friend grilling outside and said, "That's a fire hazard, illegal, against HOA policy." Then she spotted my cousin's parked car near the dock and hissed, "No overnight parking by the lake. That's a violation." I could see the Attorney General raise an eyebrow, clearly entertained by her performance. He leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and whispered to me, "Is this normal?" I whispered back, "You have no idea." Karen, of course, hadn't even noticed him yet. She was too busy ranting about bylaws and threatening fines. Her face got redder with every word, and I could feel my blood boiling. But instead of losing my temper, I stayed calm, because I knew what was coming next. Finally, Karen's eyes landed on the Attorney General, but she didn't recognize him at all. To her, he was just another rule breaker sitting in my cabin. "And you," she snapped, pointing at him, "are you even a resident? Because guests are required to sign in with the HOA before staying overnight. That's policy." The Attorney General set his coffee cup down slowly. He smiled, one of those calm, patient smiles that made you realize something big was about to happen. "Ma'am," he said in a steady voice, "do you always enter people's homes without permission?" Karen scoffed. "This isn't a home. It's part of our HOA community. I have every right to inspect it." I nearly choked trying not to laugh. This was my private property. She had no right to be there. The Attorney General leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Let me clarify something for you. This cabin is privately owned. It does not fall under your association's authority. Entering without permission could legally be considered trespassing." Karen blinked, clearly not expecting pushback. "Trespassing? Excuse me? I'm the HOA president. I make the rules." That's when he dropped the hammer. "Actually," he said, pulling out his wallet and flashing his badge, "I'm the state attorney general, and I enforce the law." The silence that followed was golden. Karen's jaw literally dropped. She stepped back so fast she nearly tripped over her own clipboard. For the first time in her life, Karen was speechless, but only for a moment. Her face twisted, and she tried to regain control. I didn't know who you were," she stammered. "But this doesn't change the fact that there are violations happening here." The Attorney General tilted his head, clearly amused. "Violations? Like cooking food on a grill? Parking a car? Having coffee inside a privately owned cabin?" He chuckled softly. "Those aren't violations of any law. What is a violation is you barging into someone's property uninvited." Karen's voice rose an octave. "But the HOA rules say Rules, he cut her off firmly, are not above state law, and no association has the power to overstep property rights. What you just did could result in legal action against you personally and potentially against your HOA. At that, Karen's face went pale. She tried to argue, flipping through her clipboard frantically as if she'd find some magic bylaw to prove her point. But the Attorney General just watched her, calm and unshaken. Meanwhile, my friends and family were silently cheering. You could see the relief on their faces. For years, Karen had terrorized the neighborhood with constant fines, threats, and intimidation. And now, finally, someone with real authority was standing up to her. The Attorney General stood up and walked slowly toward the door. But before leaving, he turned back to Karen and delivered the final blow. Ma'am, consider this your warning. If I hear about you entering private property again without consent, or if I receive complaints about harassment under guise of HOA enforcement, I'll personally see to it that you're investigated. Do I make myself clear? Karen nodded quickly, clutching her clipboard to her chest like a shield. For once, she had nothing to say. She just turned, mumbled something about misunderstanding, and hurried out of the cabin like a dog with its tail between its legs. The moment she was gone, the entire room erupted in laughter. My cousin actually clapped. My friends cheered. And I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. The Attorney General gave me a smile and said, "Well, that was interesting. You weren't exaggerating about your HOA president." From that day on, Karen never tried barging into my cabin again. In fact, she avoided me completely. Word spread quickly around the neighborhood about what had happened. And suddenly, her reign of intimidation started to crumble. People realized they didn't have to bow down to her fake authority. And me? I finally got to enjoy my lake cabin in peace. No more surprise inspections, no more threats over nonsense, and definitely no more uninvited Karen busting through my door. Sometimes, life hands you the perfect moment of karma. And for me, that moment came when Karen tried to bully the wrong person, right in front of the one man who could shut her down for good. And that, my friends, was the day Karen's HOA power trip came to a screeching halt, thanks to the State Attorney General himself. Sometimes karma shows up at the perfect moment. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more wild tales, and ring the bell so you never miss a new upload. And hey, drop a comment below. What would you have said to Karen if she barged into your cabin? I'd love to hear your thoughts.